Hey beautiful people, welcome and welcome back to my channel. If you are
I forgot how to do this.
Hey beautiful people, welcome and welcome back to my channel. If you are brand new and you just happen to stumble upon this channel, thank you so much for clicking on this video to give this girl a chance. You never know what I might learn from you, what you might learn from me. If you are a returning and loyal subscriber, thank you so much for sticking around even though there wasn't much happening on the channel, unless of course you happen to be a student, and if that's the case, then it means whatever has been going on over the last month or 2.5 may have been beneficial for you. So a lot has happened ever since the last time I was in this same position talking to the camera, and I thought I'd take a moment today to just catch you up on a little bit of what happened. So 2023 was a very big year for me, and if you are a follower of any of my very small social media accounts, then you might know that there were quite a couple of things that happened last year. I named it the year of yes from the onset. Right in January, when people were starting with their vision boards and what, I decided to give it a theme, and I said this is a year of yes. And with that, I was just setting intentions to say whatever it is that I put my heart to, whatever it is that I put my mind to, I expect it to go the way that I wish. I expect to get yes, to get you've been approved, to get congratulations over congratulations. And looking at the last 12 months, well, 13 months, that's what has been happening. So the very last video where I was having a chit chat with you was this video over here where I just bought my car. It's amazing how when you set your heart on something or some things, when you decide that things are gonna go your way, they go your way whether you make plans for that or not. So in January I started working in a new company. In April I got a new car. In April, we also had a baby shower for my best friend. I am still editing that because there is quite a lot of content that was recorded on the day, and obviously a lot of emotions attached to that. And since I was very busy at work and very busy with everything else that happened, I couldn't get a minute to record and publish. And we also had to wait for her baby boys to arrive. She gave birth in June to two very beautiful, healthy, happy, bouncy baby boys. And my heart and my hands have been completely overwhelmed and filled with joy and love for that. And even that alone was quite a very big event because, you know, a lot happened, but obviously I'll get into that in its own video. And then from that point on, we had to kind of gear up, get our head back in the game and prepare for my wedding, which was in September. And to say I was prepared. In today's video, I'm just gonna take you through the journey of where it started, how the planning went, the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, and obviously share some content from the day as well. One big reason that I hadn't shared anything about it on YouTube, for starters, the journey to becoming Mrs. was a bit complicated for me. And if you have watched any of my previous videos, specifically the ones that mention my mom, then you would know that there's some rocky waters there, there's some partly cloudy weather over there, and that could potentially ruin my wedding, and that had to be sorted out and dealt with before we could move on, right? So the very beginning, where did we meet? Mr. and I met in 2014, and we were both first year students at the Vaal University of Technology. We had both enrolled for civil engineering, and I remember the very first time I saw him, and anyone who knows my guy would know that he cannot keep quiet to save his life. So the very first time I met him, I mean, I keep to myself. I was just there in my corner alone during orientation, and here was a guy who was talking non-stop, and I was like, he was talking non-stop, and I knew from the very onset, even before I knew his name, I knew that he is one person who will stand up for himself, and he's one person who he will answer you to the death. Like, don't ever think you could speak sideways to my man and he's gonna let you. Like, that's one of the first things that I knew. Okay, here's a chacharach young man, chocolate, who will chat your head off, and that's just how he is. And that was before I knew we would be in the same class. Then over the next 2 years, we were classmates doing our diploma in civil engineering, and we became very good friends over that period of time. Very good friends. At no point did he try to slide anywhere. At no point did he try to give me mismatched energies, because there's some guys who will say, I'm your friend and whatnot, and you're trying to friend zone them, but they keep trying to slide out of the friend zone. But he never did that. So I was like, you know what, he is a very good friend, a very solid friend, and I was really grateful for that. The guy I was dating at the time, I remember he didn't like my husband now. At the time, he didn't like him at all, and at that point I didn't really understand, because why would you just hate on my friend for no reason? But now I think I get it. So fast forward to the end of our diploma years, we had to complete a year of experiential training, and this is the part where I feel like everyone separates, because we go from being classmates in the same class in the same area all at the same time to everyone getting a job everywhere. There were some that were in Polokwane, some were in Mpumalanga, some were in Northern Cape, some were in Kimberley, some were in GP. Like, everyone was everywhere. So during that time there wasn't much interaction except just on the socials here and there, commenting on statuses and whatnot. And I was like, you know what, my very good friend shop, fine, that's not a problem. 2018 came, and I wanted to further my studies, and he wanted to further his studies as well. Long story short, we all ended up doing the same exact BTech course and being in the same exact class. And this meant now we'd be spending even more time together, because we would attend from 8 to like maybe 3, 4, or 5 in the same class, and you solve problems together. And if anyone knows anything about BTech or advanced diploma, you'd understand that you cannot do that thing on your own. So when they say it takes a village, he was one of the people that were in my village. It was a group of about 4 or 5 friends, and whenever we'd have lunch, we'd all go together to grab a bite and then get back to class. And that is where Mr. started giving me those mixed intentions that I thought I had escaped. Very early on in 2018, then he made his intentions clear. He was like, listen, I know that we're friends, but this is how I feel about you, and I would really love for us to give this a chance. And for me, I was like, first of all, no. Second of all, if it goes wrong, then it means now I've lost a friend. And he was like, but why would it go wrong? You and I understand each other, we get along. And if I'm like, Then it took about a year for me to make up my mind. And during that year, he would still try to make his intentions clear. Like, he was just so sweet, man. He was just a gentleman throughout. Then that group of 4 or 5 friends that we were at, now the group was slimming down. Then Jiki, it's just me and him going out for lunch on a regular basis. Me and him going to parks to chill. And I'm like, first of all, was everyone else? And I only found out much later. And by much later, I mean like a year or so ago, that he actually asked the others to fuck off. I just want to spend time with this lady because I'm trying to make her hear my case. And obviously that led to us getting a little bit closer and closer and closer. The trust grew. Then you start confiding in each other. And long story short, by the end of 2018, going to 2019, I had kind of developed feelings for him as well, right? And then it so happened that at the time there was a Sambori and delete user, and here we are today. Then from 2019 up until today, then this is the story, right? So 2019, obviously things took a very serious turn. By the end of 2019, I got knocked up, and by the pandemic, I think we were in COVID level 5, I gave birth to our baby boy. And somewhere along the line, he decided that, you know what, I think it's time for me to send the uncles, because we cannot keep playing like this. So the uncles met for the first time, firstly to say, hey, we acknowledge that there's a baby in the mix. How do we move forward? And that is how the whole thing started. What a very long introduction, right? Then from that point on, there would be talks on and off about, this is when we can do it, this is when we should probably aim for, this is who needs to be there, this is probably how we'll go about it. So if you're South African, you'd know a little bit or a lot about the whole Lobola negotiations time frame, or the period, how your Lobola negotiations will go. So normally how it starts is a letter has to be written by the guy's family, and the letter is sent to the girl's family or the lady's family. And in this letter, the guy's family will then communicate essentially who they are, what they're looking for, and when they'd like to get what they're looking for. So they would say, We are the family of Zbanbani, and we are the parents or the guardians of this person, and we are aware that this person and this person are in a relationship or whatever. We have seen a flower in your garden, and we would love to come forward and try and negotiate so that your flower can then become ours. These are our dates that we are requesting to come, and we would love to hear back from you if these dates suit you, and if not, give us an alternative date. And this is essentially what will be transpiring, right? So the letter was written, and the complication, because somehow these things don't always go smoothly. The complication was that, if you know my family dynamics, the letter went from his family to my uncle, from my uncle to my grand, from my grand to my mom. And when it got to my mom, that is when I felt like there was a little bit of Hurricane Katrina in the WhatsApp group. Because if you know, you know. I'm not gonna get into that now. Long story short, everything hit a pause for a couple of months. And by a couple of months, I mean like 8-10 months, or close to a year, because baby girl was just being baby girl, right? But long story short, the letter made its way back to my grandmother, and now everything could continue. So there was a response given to Guy's family, okay, let's do it on so and so date. This is how many people we're expecting, and this is our expectations, and this is how we can move forward. Then now we essentially knew the date, and this meant we could now start planning, or I could start planning, because when looking at my guy and he's not much of a planner. Like, he's more, I want to do this, I'm doing it now. And I'm the planner. I'm the to-do list for the to-do list. I'm the one who will have 3 backup dresses, and you understand. So now I could start planning, and obviously I don't plan alone. I'm just here. If WhatsApp had crashed during that time, I don't know what would have happened. But shortly before, a friend of mine had just gotten married, and her wedding was amazing. It was epic. So what I did was, hey girl, beautiful wedding, super epic, wouldn't change anything. Give me your entire supplier list, because I'm not finna suffer. So she told me who done her dresses, her makeup, her hair, her decor, her food, like everything. Yeah? Then obviously I reached out, hey, this is who I am, this is where I got your numbers, and this is what I'd like from you. Let's communicate, let's forge a relationship going forward. After much back and forth with that list of suppliers and some that I'd gotten, I had 5 different suppliers for every single category, and I ended up with a person who would do my outfits, or our outfits, our dresses, my dresses and his outfits. We had a person for the catering, we had a person for the decor setup, a person for the hair, but I decided, you know what, for the hair, I'm just gonna go to the salon. Bad idea. Ask me why later. And then essentially the person who would be in charge of, just coordinating everything else. We're gonna start off with the dress. The person who was in charge of my outfits, or our outfits, was a lady called Sandra. I don't know if she has an Instagram or social media presence. I'll find out, but I'll plug her numbers in the description box below. And I first met Sandra, and I didn't really know what I wanted. I just knew how I wanted it to look. I knew the type of fit I wanted based on my body type. And then we had a whole back and forth of exchanging pictures and designs, going through inspo, deciding on a color, it was a whole thing. But I met Sandra for the first time to essentially take my measurements, and this was in June of 2023. And from that point on, I think I had 1 fitting before the final fitting. So we had a total of 2 fittings, and on the 2nd final fitting, that is when I got to take my dress home. And this was about a week or 2 before the main event. Bay picked up his outfits the day before, don't ask me why, and essentially I only got to see his one on the actual day. Sandra's amazing. I'm just gonna plug and play with pictures and vids or whatever, but we ended up on yellow. Reason being, I am very comfortable in dark colors. I'm a person who, I find comfort in black. If I could get married in a black dress, I would. But I'm a person who finds comfort in dark colors, and I didn't want that day to be like any other normal day. I didn't want it to be, oh well, it's just her, we know she's gonna have, no. So I decided on a bright color. Initially, I wanted orange, but orange or pink. I think it was down to orange or pink. But the more I looked at the orange, like the more dull it became, because there's now so many different shades of orange, and it's easy for it to go towards the browns. And I was just like, nah. Then I was like, a royal blue would be very, very nice. And then I realized it's very basic. It's a very beautiful color because I saw this dress. But then I realized, then I was like, pink. And then I realized the girlies who got married in my hood over the last 2 or 3 years have been wearing pink wedding dresses. I was like, can't be pink. Then we settled on the yellow, and then we had to decide on the embellishments or whatever we're gonna add, the stripies and whatnot, and it turned out so beautifully. I loved my dress. I love my dress. And then outfit number 2 for the day, or outfit number 1, would be like a traditional blue dress with, I don't know whether they're peacock designs or whatever, but it has like some stuff happening on it that's just really cute. And then we added some stripes at the bottom and on the one arm as well. And that would be the dress that I would be wearing in the morning while they're still finishing off their negotiations. And then the part where they say they want to see me covered in a blanket and all of that drama, that would be the one I'd be wearing. And it turned out beautifully as well. And then the dresses for day 2. Oh, the outfits for day 2. Then I went to Marabastad with my sister and 2 friends. And when I checked my watch, my smartwatch after the day, it said I walked for 8 kilometers. Like, that's how much walking we did that day. Because it wasn't as easy as getting there, seeing something and deciding to take it. You see a thing, you're like, let me compare, let me see if there's a different color, a different fit. But at the end of the day, we ended up with this. It was like a white peplum top, a pink skirt, and a doek, and some accessories. And yeah, it was a long day. And that would essentially be what I'd be wearing on day 2 in the morning, before I am now accompanied to, I'd say, my new home, right? And then shop. And then whatever I'd be wearing once I get there would now be in his department, because there would need to be a hoosh, belani, a top, a doek, and shoes. Yeah, and some special shoes and accessories and whatnot. And yeah, obviously that was on another level. When it comes to the decor, the people who provided my decor, they called Diaries. Hey, I might be butchering it. I'm just gonna put their logo on here. And this is a person who's from home. She normally does our cakes and our cupcakes and our floral arrangements if there's any special occasions, anything special happening. So on Mother's Day, on my grandmother's birthdays, on, hey, you name it, I normally call her. I'm like, hey, I need a cake of this size, this color, this flavor, that's the design. And she will get it done. She is my go-to person, and this is because we've built a relationship over the years, and I just felt like she was a person I could trust. Of course, I had like 4 other deco people waiting in line to essentially get this done, but at the end of the day, it was down to the cost as well as who's close to home heart-wise and who was closer to our house as well, because this thing of having a supplier who lives 3 hours away and then they don't make it, I didn't want to gamble like that. So she stays like 15 minutes away. She's close to home, and I just felt like I could relate to her more. Obviously, there are some certain things that I felt like could have gone by differently. For instance, she needed a 50% deposit up front. There's nothing foreign there. The part I didn't really get was the fact that she wanted the rest of her payment made before the actual wedding. So the day before, this is when you now pay the remaining 50%. And for me, it was a bit of a, you understand, because anything could go wrong. Like, you have my entire money now, what if you don't pitch? But I just had to trust the process, and they delivered the chairs the day before, and then the next day in the morning, that's when they delivered the rest of everything, and then they started setting up from 5 a.m., which was all great, all good. Overall, the setup was amazing, it was beautiful. So I wanted a bit of a minimalistic boho theme. So I wanted a bit of nude, a bit of woody, some flowers here and there. I didn't want something that screamed white, because it wasn't a white wedding, and I also didn't want something that screamed tradition. I just wanted something that was like a bit in between. So this is the inspo I was using. So her setup came with the cabana tent, it came with our backdrop, our chairs, tables and chairs for all the guests, and all the underplates, the plates, your champagne and wine glasses, the cutlery, the works. some candles, some flowers, the green grass carpet, the red carpet, the thank you sign, and the couch outside. And yeah, so that entire setup, I'll just put the link to her details as well here, as well as what it included from our conversations. And okay, I forgot to give the costings. I'll give the costings right at the end. Right. And then next up we have the catering. So with the catering, I wouldn't say it was too personal to me, but obviously it matters. You want to have nice food, and you also don't want something that will break the bank, and you don't want food that people will not eat. So I left my aunt in charge of the catering, although I was also kept in the loop with everything. We ended up going with a lady who, I don't know whether to say they're friends or what, but we got the referral from my gran because she had worked with this lady before. And I'll say one thing: please don't work with people you know, or people you think you know, because if they can disappoint you, they will. This lady had her prices up front, and the prices were amazing. You know, looking at what we're looking for and, you know, the number of people, her prices were great. I just wasn't in love with the idea of the fact that she uses disposable plates all the time. There isn't a display of food, but anyway, I decided, it's food, so it's fine. So her terms were that she wanted a deposit of about $1,000, and then before the day she'll want the rest of the balance, or on the day, something like that. Like on the day in the morning, she wants the rest of the balance, and she gave us a whole list of things to go buy. And even that on its own, I felt like, baby girl, this was a long shot. So she wanted us to buy things in bo 5 liter and bo what. And looking at the food that was left after the wedding, I felt like a lot of it was a waste. Of course, it's food, you're gonna eat it at the end of the day, but I felt like a lot of it was over exaggerated, and it's things that we didn't use, and she easily could have quoted like a normal person. For instance, if you're gonna be grilling meat and you want marinade, like you can use 1-2 liter bottle of marinade if that's how much you need, but there's no need for you to now ask for an entire 6-pack of those marinades if you're only gonna use one. She wanted a 6-pack of tomato sauces, a 6-pack of mayos, and I'm talking big quantities, a 6-pack of those big baked beans, a whole entire bag of potatoes, of onions, of this, of that. Of course, it's food, you're gonna use them at the end of the day, but I felt like a lot of money could have been saved if she had just quoted reasonably to say, I'll want just 2 liter of tomato sauce, because she wasn't even using it for a lot of things. She, like, even in that 1-2 liter or whatever, she probably used like 2-3 spoons, and I just felt like for a family that doesn't really eat like that, it was vibey, you know. And of course, there was some food that I felt like some of the food was just removed or omitted for no reason. Looking at the amount of meat we bought versus the amount of meat that was served, of course I wasn't counting or looking, but you can just see by the amount of meat you bought. I mean, I cook, I know how much a whole tray of beef stew is. Like you understand. And then that's when you see, hold on, not only did you cry for your payment, you also paid yourself for the food. So on the morning of the day or the night before, the lady arrived and she asked if we had settled her, and obviously we hadn't just yet, because I thought she needs to be settled on the day. And then she was like, no, I needed the day before, I need to pay my people. And then I was like, okay, fine, I'm processing it. And then I processed the payment, and I use NetBank. I can't recall what she uses, and if anyone knows NetBank, it does not want to participate with anyone. So obviously it wasn't, I tried to make it an immediate payment, okay, but it was after hours. It already takes 30 minutes on a normal day during the day for an immediate payment to clear. So after hours, and it's a weekend, you can only imagine. So I processed the payment, and I showed her that here I've just processed the payment. Here's the proof of payment. I can send it to you, right? I sent her the proof of payment. This is proof that I've made the payment. About 10-15 minutes goes past. She comes to me, she says, I still haven't gotten or received my payment. I'm like, yeah. Then I explained to her this thing, the immediate payment, NetBank, Interbank, and whatever. And then she pretends like she understands, but she comes back to me like another 5-7 minutes later to keep hounding me about the same thing. And I just felt like, honestly, baby girl, you give me a headache over, like, I'm here, you're here. There's no reason why we should be scamming each other. But yeah, And this happened on the day, by the way, not the day before, on the day. So I just felt like, this is entirely unnecessary. It felt like she was kind of threatening me in a way, and she was just hovering as if I would try to run away with her money. But yeah, anyway, long story short, then the food ended up being prepared, and there was a whole bunch of grocery left after they were done cooking, which obviously we were not really impressed with. The day then, still on the day before, I went to do my hair, and I hunted for people to do my nails because I live and long weekend, that was just the whole thing. Long story short, I ended up getting my hair done at a normal salon. I had booked with the guy about a month in advance for my friend and I, and we went and we did our hair there. Obviously, appointments do not matter in a town like that, because tell me why I waited a whole hour and a half before he could do my hair. Anyway, he started to do my hair, and this is the hairstyle inspo that I wanted. This is the type of hair I wanted. I wanted something that would be away from my face, that would have a bit of a puff. I wanted it a bit high up so that it could kind of outline my face properly, like just highlight my face. And I don't know, maybe I wasn't clear enough, but the pondo was slightly lower than I would have loved. I felt like it still looked good, but I have a really small head. I didn't want it to be at that position because of that. But anyway, he did what he did. And with this specific hair vendor, I know he's a very big shot when it comes to hair and whatever in my hometown, but what he did to me cannot be undone. So while I sat down to do my hair with the guy, right, there's a lady who did the exact same hairstyle or similar just before he started with me, and she came in and said her hair was too tight. She wanted him to undo it because it's too tight, she can't even think, right? And obviously he did what he could. He loosened it here and there, and the lady left. And that should have been a red flag for me. Hore, walk away while you still can. But I didn't, because get Makoti, and I also deserve to shine. So he processed my hair, and then he started. At some point, it all started to become a bit too tight, and he kept on going. And I told him this hair is too painful, and he was like, no, we need to make it tight. You don't want your pondo falling off on your wedding, wara. Me, Popeye, I listened to him. Long story short, the reason I'm highlighting this is because about 3 weeks later, when I decided to take the pondo down, it fell off with the rest of my hair. Like the hair in the middle of my head fell off as if it was waxed. I'll add some pictures here to just show how bad it was, and this is why today I am hairless. So ever since around October of 2023, I've been on Chiskop mode every single week because I've been trying to grow the hair back. Happy to say the hair grew back because it took about a month or two for it to actually start showing signs of life. It looked like a baby's bum, and it had a bit of a scar on it, so it showed that it actually went through a lot of trauma. It was like being waxed continuously for 3 weeks, and I don't want anyone to have experienced it. So this is just to say, if you ever go and get your hair done and you feel like it's a bit too tight, there's a level of tightness that you're like, if I sleep for 1 day it'll be fine. That one was not it. I had to drink 3 grandpas and it still did not go away. I tried to nap, it didn't go away. I couldn't sleep on my side, couldn't sleep on my back. It was that excruciatingly painful, and I really wish, if there's one thing I could have done right, would have been to remove it after day 2 to give my hair time to breathe. Maybe I would have managed to salvage my hair, because it was a lot of hair and my heart still breaks at the thought of what had to happen. But anyway, that's what happened. The hair was nice, but I just feel like, it wasn't necessary. And then up until that point, I still hadn't managed to do my nails because I had an appointment here, appointment there. The other one was fully booked. The other one kept taking walk-ins. Long story short, it got to around 11 p.m. and my nails were still not done. And that is when someone called me and had a sudden opening. And God bless this person. Her name is Khudi, I think. Khudi Nails. She's somewhere around Go Plaza, Go Shopong. I'll plug her social media because I saw she's on TikTok as well. And around 11:45, that is when I went to do my nails. I was literally doing my nails in the AMs. And shame, God bless her soul, because she saved my bum, hey? And then I got to bed at around 1. That's when I slept and got woken up by hooters at the gate when the decor people were here to set up. And this is how the day actually went. So I think I covered a bit of everything that went into the planning. And then on the day, obviously waking up, having breakfast, trying to vlog here and there, trying to get ready. Then the next MVP that I cannot go without mentioning would be my makeup artist. Of course, she's my friend. Don't say I'm biased. She's my friend, but she is a bomb ass makeup artist. She arrived there at around 8ish, 9. And for someone who is pregos, she's still currently baking. I felt like she put aside her whole entire self and focused on me for a weekend, and that was so amazing. She arrived and she had to settle in, and then I needed her to take a nap before she could start with anything, so she took a nap before. Then she woke up and ate, and then she could start with my face, and then we did my makeup throughout, and she had to do her makeup after, because in as much as she was my makeup artist, she was my friend and she had to be part of the day. And then getting dressed, and then on the other side they were busy negotiating, because they had arrived by that point as well. They were negotiating and concluding their negotiations and whatnot. And then there was the part where I had to wear my first dress, and where they had to cover me in a blanket in the scorching heat so they could see me. These people know me, why do they need to see me? But anyway, tradition is tradition, so they had to cover me up in a whole blanket. Then the part where we had to go and they had to essentially pick who's the Makoti mower, and they picked the right one so they didn't get fined. And then shortly after that we could start with the festivities. Before the festivities, here's a short clip of my best friend getting me dressed. And I feel like if there's anything in life that you can do intentionally, and I'm trying not to get emotional, if there's anything in life that you can do with intention and intent, is picking your people. They say it takes a village. This girl is the whole entire village. Because tell me why her babies were barely 3 months old, or just under 3 months. Tell me why a mom to twin baby boys that were just but babies, tell me why she was there for me so much. And not to say she didn't have a choice, of course she didn't, but she easily could have chosen herself, you know, but she chose to put me first. Tell me why a whole mom, a whole wife, she has 1,000 other things to do with her time. Tell me why this one, I'll never understand it. Anyway, now it's time to essentially do, it's like walking down the aisle, even though you're essentially dancing down the street to the other side of the street. By now, hubby had arrived, everyone was seated, they were just waiting for like I'd say the bridal entourage to come, and then we danced, and then we went. It was lovely vibes, and went there, and I kept thinking to myself, I kept feeling how I was very emotional on the day. It might not show, but I remember how during the day, even when people are like giving speeches or whatnot, and they make a joke and I laugh, and he kept on saying, that's your nervous laugh, you sound very nervous. And I was. For starters, I was scared my mom would pull an isibaya on everyone, just rock up, because you never know what games people are playing. You never know. My fear was that I didn't know what she had in mind and what she would do as a result of that day happening, whether she liked it or not. That was a big fear. Another big fear was the fact that when you're used to things not happening for you, when you're used to things happening in a way that is not what you had planned for, and something finally goes your way, it's just hard to believe. It feels like no, is this really me? So the day came, the day went. I'll share the rest of the footage on how that went. It was a beautiful day, and even at the end of the day, I still couldn't believe it. Like, I still couldn't believe that we left our apartment or our place for the last time as, I would say, boyfriend and girlfriend, even though we had kind of